roasts over the years. We don't have a roast tonight, we have a celebration. We have a celebration of a man that we all care about and that has given many years to ethnic education. And that I believe God has another purpose yet for him. And he has proven that. So we're going to spend some time tonight. It's not going to be anything fancy. That's not what John would want. And we're going to it's going to be low key. We're going to eat. We're going to sing a few songs. We're going to have people say something short. And then we're going to retire for the night. He's going to retire for the rest of his life. We're just going to retire for the rest of the night.
We're jealous.
That's Barheads, and we'll have a blessing.
Around the state of New York to Alaska. And that began more than 3 decades in the North Pacific Union. Only in the last 7 years has he been on loan to the Mid-American Union. He is a Northwesterner and a Northeaster, so he's got the 2 corners covered. 19 years ago, not quite half of that time, I arrived in Oregon for the first time in the Northwest myself, and John had just returned to the state of Oregon. In those 30 plus years, John, you have been at schools in all 5 of our Northwest states. 4 conferences, but 5 states. And he was there 19 years ago when I arrived. He was just moving from one of our boarding academies to another, from Montana back to Oregon. After that, he went back to Alaska as the superintendent. And so he served in many beautiful places. I think you could say he's only lived in beautiful places. I do remember 7 years ago, I'm sitting in the airport in Minneapolis between flights. I'd been in the North American Division 2 years, and I think I had my head into the computer or something. All of a sudden I heard, "There's Dennis." And looked up, and here was John and Jeannie. And they got off of the people mover and came over, and they were just leaving Lincoln to return to Anchorage, and were weighed with the burden of a decision. I do remember one thing he said: "I can't imagine living without my mountains." So from the mountains to the prairie, though, he did go because God led him. I do remember saying in my few very short visits to Lincoln, it had grown on me, and that the people there were as dedicated in the heartland of America as anywhere across the Great Division. And he certainly has been one who's added to that. So John, we know that you still are an upstate New Yorker, born and raised, but you're also a Northwesterner in your heart. By the way, most of you had that experience. Wherever you've lived, you've left a piece of yourself, your heart there. So with 40 years of service, you know he has a big heart. Because, yes, he still does have a big heart. Keith, a few words.
Well, John, I think maybe I go back the furthest here. I'm not sure if anybody's back in the 70s at Atlantic Union College. But I remember John. Oh, you were there with us? Yeah. That was a good time too, rock hunting. But John, I remember John around the campus and a covey of quails all around the campus. He married a quail. So they were well represented at AUC. So John, I tried to find some pictures on the Atlantic Union College yearbooks, but I guess we're too old.
They don't have an active alumni.
I Googled you, and I'm just thinking, is there a John in Seneca Falls, New York?
Cousin.
Okay, you got a cousin there, and there was another one in here in New York, Clayville, New York, a couple in Seneca, and then there was one that was 82 and one was 88, but I didn't think those were you, so I couldn't look him around here. But John, I do remember AUC with fond memories, but I also followed you, as Dennis has, through the years, being in the Northwest Northwest for 27 years now. And always found, as Martha has said, whatever you've dealt with, what problems, whether what academy it was, what junior academy, superintendent, whatever, that you've always dealt with your problems with dignity and respect for others, and that's greatly appreciated.
So on behalf of NPUC, we would like to give you a couple of items that we hope will remind you of the Northwest. Pendleton, which is a hallmark company for the Northwest. And this year's corporate wear.
Well, you see me with the vest. I love vests, so this is great.
Well, good.
Thank you so much.
John's, I think probably a lot of this will kind of be a repeat, but you'll know it does come from my heart. Several years ago, more than 7, I went to Anchorage when risk management was up there. And somebody arranged a bus ride down to somewhere. Wherever. And that was when I first met John and Jeannie. And I thought, oh, these are pretty cool people, pretty nice. They even arranged for beluga whales to be there, and, so it was perfect. And so never thought about crossing paths with them again. And then when we first started the search for a new director after Ron retired, somebody put in and said, John Kriegelstein. And then, so they said, does anybody know him? Well, Leonard Quayle piped up and said, well, he's my brother-in-law. That's what we do. But when John and Jeannie came, and we're in Lincoln, it felt right. And then, he moved into the office and we started working, and he caught the vision of Mid-America real quick. And continued that vision, which was really important. We really weren't too sure, the 3 of us in the office, though, that we were going to be able to spend who knows how long with loons chiming every hour. We are now wondering how we will know what's going on when the loons don't chime for us every other hour in a few weeks. But it has been a privilege to have John in Mid-America. People were not so sure when he came, but he quickly won their hearts and their confidences. And we are just not sure how we're going to handle the transition again. John and I have developed a good working relationship, a good friendship. I told the people at the office retirement, the highest compliment that I think I've ever received is when John was sick, and we were talking one day, and he said to me, well, you're just like a sister. And that, I don't know that John knew how much that meant to me, because I never had a brother, but if I did, I'd want one just like you.
I go back to that same Alaska trip with John. And John and I are both photographers. And I don't know if you remember, but I asked, where could I see moose? And the answer was,
Open your window.
Kincaid Park
Yeah.
is probably the best place. If you want to see moose, that's the best place to see moose. And sure enough, I had to get off the trail just after dusk to stop being mowed over by a huge bull moose. Walked within a foot of me, and a few others. John, I've always respected John for many reasons. But one thing that John has said that has been meaningful in my life, and he's said it a lot. Many people, when they get sick, they ask the question, why? And John has said, why not me? Instead of why me, John says, why not me? What is it about me that I deserve better than anyone else? And I think that really captures who John is. Why not me? Why am I any better than someone else? And so I think that that's and something. John and I have plans for the future. We plan to go out and sit in a cornfield in 10-degree weather.
You can just drive by.
In the middle of the night and watch the sandhill cranes
It's beautiful.
come into the Platte River Valley. And I've been looking forward to that for a couple of years. That's who John is. That's been one of his dreams as well, is to see that spectacle. So we look forward to that coming up in February, March, and we're looking forward to that. If I can have my colleagues go on up and join me.
Come back that early.
Yeah, they do.
They congregate, they're close to
It's
500,000.
usually large.
Wait, just come out and see it right up close and personal.
It is still snow on the ground out there in Mars.
Oh, sometimes.
Not always.
Not always.
Usually.
We, John has done so much. He's given so much. TDAC, we're not sure what we're going to do without John on TDAC. And I'm not sure what John, how he's going to survive without TDAC either. He's an integral part of that committee. And we have an opportunity in TDAC to do some things that are enjoyable along, and we work very hard on that committee. But it's always been good to have a union director, and now we have two union directors, Madeline, that will be sitting on TDAC, and that's always a very positive thing, because they can attest to our motives on that committee. But we want to, and John, I know John, we had a conversation just before this meeting, and he says, you know, what do you say after people stand up and eulogize you? You know, I mean, what do you say after that? And so we don't expect a large speech, but we want to give you something, John. Come on up here and join us. First of all, we have open that up.
Your bag's gonna be over 50 pounds now, John.
Okay.
Very nice. It says Journey to Excellence Award presented to Money in sincere appreciation for our distinguished, I knew there was not so many reflections behind it, leadership and deep commitment to serving Adventist education in North America.
Did they spell Kriegelstein correctly?
give me a second. I bet so, but yeah, it's there. Thank you so much.
Well, it's deeply felt by everyone. And then we have something that
Yes, everyone had a part in doing this, and then there's some little messages inside the card for each person, so.
Appreciate it. I'll go to bed reading them tonight, and they won't put me to sleep.
anyone else would like to say something? It's not necessary, but if you have something in your heart you'd like to say to John, you're welcome to do that.
Well, I saw John when he was in Milo and I was at Livingston, and there could have been some, I don't know what the word would be, because we were then moving from a junior academy to a senior academy, which of course could and affect Milo, but John and I, we met together on it. We talked together on it, and he was so supportive that he just wanted our kids to be in Adventist education. And I've never forgotten his heart on that, and his unselfishness and his godliness. So I appreciate, I've always appreciated John for a lot of years now.
We watched from afar when John went through his battle with cancer was inspiration. It gives perspective on an individual to see them go through that and then come out on the other side and still be able to serve. God still has plans for you like that.
Rhonda?
Just want to say I'm really going to miss you, John, and thanks for encouragement, and we had some great conversations dealing with going through tough times, and thank you.
John, I have had very few conversations with you, but they have been very deep, and I have enjoyed tremendously. And I felt always that you were very approachable. So thank you for being so approachable.
Yeah, I wondered what God is. I don't picture myself sitting at home. I'm not a person to just sit around. However, I do sleep a lot more than I used to. But I've wondered, because there's been so many times, especially through the journey of cancer, that I wondered exactly what God did have in mind. Because when even your doctors, who obviously were Christian, but were not of the same faith, would say, John, we don't know why you're alive. God must have something for you to do. And I had that happen twice, very specifically. And my dream has been to work with oncology patients, especially young people. And unfortunately, the hospital right there in Lincoln does not have an oncology floor. They have oncology patients there, but they don't have, well, it's rare that they have a young person that's actually in the hospital, because if they're needing that kind of care, they go to Omaha. And I could commute to Omaha, but I've begun the process of applying to be a volunteer at the hospital. And when I told my story just a little bit, she says, well, we don't have oncology. She says, but it sounds like what you need to be is in a pastoral care role as a volunteer. And you don't have to be certificated, as a chaplain to do that. And so that's my immediate plan. I don't know beyond that. They don't take you very many hours a week, but we'll see what happens. I cannot see myself not attached to Adventist education in some way into the future. I grew up going through Adventist education, with the exception of 1 year at the University of Oregon and a class at a community college, and 2 or 3 classes at the University of Alaska, Inc. been one incredible journey from starting in 1973 in Anchorage till today. A journey that all I can say, and in fact you asked me to, or somebody, I guess somebody asked me to do the devotional on Tuesday morning. And I just want to recount a little bit during that time. Some, not the miracles, not go through the whole cancer thing with you, because I think most of you know that. But to just look back and see how many times now, and yet it wasn't then, it was so utterly clear at this point why God took us to the places we have been. And I can say almost every time, it wasn't a matter of choice, it was a matter of God either pulling or saying, I need you there, or you need to be there because of something that was a support to us. But you guys have played a huge part of that. It will be very hard to leave my sister in the office and to go out there. You know, how do you have a working relationship where you feel that close to the people you work with? And I know that a lot of us do in our fields, but let's be honest, sometimes you work with a person professionally only. And it's a gift to be able to do more than that. And you guys are all part of my family. Thank you so much.
Um, 15-year survivor of stage 4 pancreatic cancer. That's a perspective that not many people have. And I appreciate that John has used that perspective in a positive way. So, John, if we could have a prayer for you, and then we'll close for the night. Father, we come again tonight to celebrate the journey that John has had through his career, through his life, and the effect that that has had not only on us, it has affected us in a very positive way. But I think right now of the hundreds and probably thousands of students that John and Jeannie have touched, that will never be the same because of what they have done, that will never be able to stand here and tell him face to face what that has meant to them. But Father, we long for that time in which we can all stand together, free of the cares and cancers and issues of this world, and we can share those stories of John, do you remember? Mr. Kriegelstein, do you remember? And that, Father, is John's legacy on this planet. Thank you for his ministry to each of us. We, as a family tonight, want to say that we love you, and we together want your soon return. And John longs for that as well. So we want to say tonight, thank you, and may God continue to bless John and his family as they continue to minister.